everyone, and welcome to Freckles and Blondie, the show where our obsession with Lost reaches new and terrifying heights each and every week. I'm Randy.
I'm Tiffany.
And today we'll be discussing Season 2, Episode 11, The Hunting Party. This episode aired on January 18th, 2006. It was directed by Stephen Williams, and it was written by Elizabeth Sarnoff and Christina M. Kin. 2 women writing on this week's episode.
Yeah, I feel like this is Christina's first one, right?
Yeah, and I think it's only like her second or third episode for Elizabeth. So yeah, I'm curious and scared to hear your thoughts on this episode.
I'm curious and psyched to hear your thoughts, Randy, after the text message that I received from you yesterday.
I don't think you should be putting too much into that text message, okay? I'm still very much a lover of Jack, but yeah, there was a couple scenes in here where I just wanted to shake him because he just needed to calm down a little bit.
Yes. I mean, that's usually my issue with him, right? Like, he's overreacting all the time. So, I totally know exactly what you're talking about because I feel like that all the time.
Yeah, and I mean, I haven't really seen it as much until this particular episode. That being said, I still thought it was a pretty good episode. I was very engaged by it. I enjoyed Jack's backstory. I feel like even though Jack annoyed me in this episode, I feel like everything he was doing was so in character. And I know we've talked on this show before about how he can be written inconsistently at times. Mm-hmm. So I appreciated the fact that I thought he was very in character throughout this whole thing.
Yeah, that's true because, him needing to calm down, that is totally part of Jack and who he is. Like, he gets very emotional and passionate.
Yeah.
And to the point of recklessness and, like, just being negative, I guess. I don't know how to say, like, the way he's just so hurtful to Kate in this episode. Yeah, you're right. I don't feel like he's super inconsistent in this episode. He has like some personality traits that just don't seem to mesh sometimes, like the awesome bedside manner that he's had in the last couple episodes.
Yeah, where is that in this episode?
Exactly. That's what's so hard to reconcile. There's like the nice Jack who's very comforting and takes care of people, and then there's this Jack. So like both seem sort of in character, but both of those traits just seem like they don't mesh to me.
Yeah, I can see that. I think the way I view this episode and Jack in general, even when he's, being very emotional and a little annoying in this episode, I feel like it's all coming from a good place and his intentions are good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just my opinion, but that's kind of how I reconcile it in my head when I'm watching.
Yeah, I usually think his intentions are good too. Like he wants to help Michael or, whoever.
Or protect Kate, it's just not coming across.
It just comes across horribly.
Right.
And I think that in this one there is some stuff that's not completely selfless. I think he is like angry with the Sawyer situation and he's kind of taking it out on them at the moment. Mm-hmm. Like out of some jealousy, which is understandable.
Yeah.
So it's not like this is unmotivated, but yeah, overall, I don't dislike this episode.
Okay. Surprising to me, but okay.
I don't love it, obviously.
Yeah.
But, it's just, I think the stuff with the others is really cool and engaging.
Yeah, same.
That whole scene with them is amazing.
Yeah, it's great.
His backstory, I don't really love. I feel like part of the reason that I don't really enjoy Jack episodes is his backstories feel pretty repetitive to me. And at the end of this, I was trying to think of the theme, and I was like, oh dear God, here we go again. Another Jack theme about letting go. And I was kind of frustrated, but then I had a light bulb moment where I was like, okay, maybe I can turn this around. And I thought of something that I felt really fit that was completely different. So
nice.
Hopefully it'll make sense when we get to that.
Oh my God, I can't wait to hear that.
Because I was trying really hard to not just be negative.
Wow, I really appreciate that, Tiffany.
Because I swear at the end of every Jack episode, I cannot think of a theme right away, whereas 90% of the other episodes, it just comes to me immediately. I'm like, oh, this is the thing that they're talking about in this episode. In Jack episodes, I always struggle. And I don't know if it's because I just personally don't connect to him, or if his backstory doesn't lend itself to that kind of thematic ethical thing. I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting. I feel like the theme I wrote is what you were just saying. It's just very similar to a lot of his other episodes. It's just a very simple theme.
Yeah.
I feel like they hit with him over and over. I don't know. That being said, I liked the flashbacks we got with him. I liked finally knowing what happened with him and Sarah and how that relationship ended.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if it connects as strongly to what's happening with him on the island as I would like.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually my beef with flashbacks.
Yeah. Yeah. Previously on Lost, the others took Walt, and Michael was pretty upset about it. Sawyer said he loved Kate while he was delirious. Jack and Kate kissed, and Kate ran away because the writers of this show hate me, apparently.
While he was delirious. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah. I mean, that's no lie, okay? That's what happens. Factual.
I love you.
We start in a flashback. Jack and his father Christian are consulting a patient's x-ray and talking in whispers. The patient and his daughter are sitting behind them. The man speaks to his daughter in Italian, saying he knows he doesn't have a chance. Christian apologizes and says the man isn't a candidate for surgery. He's looking for a miracle. However, Mr. Busoni didn't come here for Christian. He came for Jack. The woman, named Gabriella, references Sarah's case, stating that she now walks because of the miracle surgery Jack performed. Jack says his father is correct about the risk, but when Gabriella asks Jack if he will try, he says yes. So we just get right into it this week. No on the island stuff.
True, yeah. True, we don't normally start in a flashback.
Yeah, it always kind of trips me up when they just go right into it like this.
It was so intense last week with Echoes, and they started in a flashback there.
Yeah.
I didn't even think anything of it. So I was like, oh, of course you're going to start with this. This is, nothing else matters.
Right.
Yeah, I was wondering here why Christian is so unhappy that Jack is taking this case. What is the root of that?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, maybe Christian doesn't believe in miracles. He just thinks this is so, the odds are just stacked against the surgery being a success.
Right.
And of course Jack is going to try even when the odds are impossible. This is someone who needs to be fixed, and Jack's going to do it. So
it's just such an interesting role reversal for them compared to the last time we saw them with Sarah's case. And Jack was the one who was like, there is no hope. You're not going to get better. This is all the stuff that's wrong with you, And then Christian was like, how about handing out some hope every once in a while? And yet here he is. It's I don't know what changed with Christian. I get what changed with Jack,
Yeah.
Because he's seen Sarah. But Christian seems very unhappy. And I don't know if it's just like this situation is not like Sarah's. This situation really is hopeless. And
Right.
Christian can see that. Or, I don't know. I mean, there's always like the practical hospital liability stuff. Maybe he's concerned about that. I don't know. He's like, whoa, dude. Whoa.
Yeah. No, that's such a good point. I didn't even think about that contrast from the last time we saw Christian and Jack together. That's so interesting. In the hatch, Jack wakes up after hearing a noise. When he investigates, he finds Locke unconscious on the floor and Michael holding a gun. Michael says he's going to get Walt back, and no one can stop him. It's his right as a father. He then threatens to shoot the computer if Jack doesn't cooperate, saying it's not what they think it is. Jack offers to go with him, but Michael says he has to do it alone and shuts Jack and Locke inside the weapons room.
Crazy Michael.
Yeah, like, I know you want Walt back, but there's no reason for all this, Michael. It's unnecessary.
It's very freaky because we know that he's been interacting with the computer and that they were warned not to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, Michael wasn't, but, you know, when they rewatched the orientation with the missing pieces in it, they were warned not to do that.
Yeah, like very explicitly warned against that.
Yeah, so the fact that he is acting all crazy all of a sudden, like, he looks very, like, deranged in this scene.
Yeah.
And he talks about the computer and the way he's like, you don't have any idea what that computer is. Like, it piques my suspense so much. Just trying to imagine what was happening and what he was told and what he's doing now.
Yeah, that's such a good point. He's definitely unhinged in this scene.
Yeah.
I don't think it's like out of character for him. Like, it doesn't really surprise me, you know?
Yeah, it's not, because he was much like this in Adrift when he and Sawyer were, you know, floating around.
Yeah.
So it fits. It's totally within character for him to be like this, but it's also alarming at the same time.
Definitely.
And I like that they did not show him knocking Locke out, because I just don't possibly see how that could have happened. So it was better to not show it, because that would be unrealistic.
He was probably like having his daily time with his button. He was in like deep prayer and worship, so he didn't even see Michael.
He was sitting at the computer doing a crossword puzzle, and Michael just whacked him on the head.
Oh, yeah, that's such a good point. I have a hard time believing that Locke would be taken by surprise as well in that way by Michael.
Like, if he knew it was coming, you know, no doubt at all on who would win that fight. But
especially when I feel like Locke would be suspicious anyway if Michael came in and asked for a gun, and they've been like doing this target practice together, and Locke knows that Michael wants to go after Walt. Like, it's not very surprising, right?
Well, he doesn't know he wants to go after him, right? Because Michael told him he wasn't going to do that.
Oh, I just assumed that Locke was smart enough to see through that blatant lie, but
yeah.
I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Like, he kind of implied that he thought he was, and then told him that would be a very bad decision. So maybe he just thought Michael would take his Grandpa Locke wisdom, but he didn't, because he's not as smart as everyone else on the island, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Coming back, Locke wakes up and Jack fills him in on Michael's departure. Jack wants to try to get out through the air vent, but Locke bolted it shut. Locke admits he let Michael have a gun because he wanted to get in some more shooting practice. Locke realizes the pushing of his precious button is in danger. He and Jack are the only ones on duty for the next 4 hours. They're hoping Sawyer will show up to get his bandages changed. I love this scene because the idea of Locke and Jack being stuck in a tiny room is like really funny to me.
I know. I would have enjoyed an entire episode of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I might not have actually enjoyed it because Jack would have been really, really mean to Locke, and it would have made me really angry. But at the same time, there's a potential for some great conversation.
Yeah, Jack would have been super sarcastic and Locke would have been all wisdom and knowingy and annoying in that way to me. So yeah.
Yeah, they missed out on a potential like entire episode.
Yeah, there could have been some good stuff in an episode like that. Sawyer is chilling on the beach when Kate throws him some breakfast. She says it's time to get his bandages changed. Sawyer wants to know why Kate can't do it, and she replies she's not his nurse. They flirt some more and leave for the hatch.
It's so cute.
It's not. It's gross.
Super cute.
It's not cute at all.
She seems so happy. Did you notice that? That's what I wrote.
I mean, sure. She's not unhappy. Gosh, I find it so hard to admit these things. Yeah, it's lighthearted. And she's not the happiest we've ever seen her, but yeah, she seems like she's in a good mood. I'll give you that.
Seems pretty happy.
Yeah. Oh, God. Arriving at the hatch, Kate quickly takes care of the button, and Sawyer lets Jack and Locke out of the weapons room. Jack hands Locke a gun and says, "We're going after Michael." Sawyer also grabs a gun and says he's coming too. Jack warns him he's still on antibiotics, but Sawyer doesn't seem to care.
I mean, if Jack is holding the medicine, it does seem like he might as well go with Jack, right?
I mean, I guess. I was trying to figure out throughout this whole episode why Sawyer was going at all.
Okay, I have a theory.
Okay, go ahead.
I think he feels protective of Michael after all their time together. And that's one of those Sawyer things that he would like not want to admit to. And that's why he doesn't tell Jack why he's coming, but I feel like that would be why he would go.
It just seems like throughout the first half of this season, he hasn't really cared what happens with Michael. And I guess I'm just going to assume that's because he was dying then. And now that he's not dying, like he cares about Michael now? It just seemed kind of strange, but...
Yeah, I think he has always cared. And, you know, we saw it most clearly in Adrift.
Yeah, that's true.
And after that, yeah, he was hurt for sure. And I think there was always a reason for him to, like, you know, when Michael ran off the other time, it didn't really make sense for Sawyer to go after him then.
It just, like, it would make more sense if Sawyer was, like, at 100% health. But
yeah,
I feel like it's been, like, what, a day or two since he was, like, got out of his comatose state? Like...
Right. That's why I don't feel like this is some casual decision that he's making. Like, he must actually care, because why else would he do it?
I guess. I have a little bit of a hard time believing it, but... Yeah, I mean, you're right. In Adrift, we did see that, you know, he does care about Michael, so.
I thought this scene was interesting because, and we'll talk about it later, I guess, when Locke brings it up, but, like, why are they even going?
Yes!
You know?
Thank
That's
you.
the whole issue with all this. Like, Michael explained himself perfectly well to Jack when he closed him into the, what do you call it? What are they in? They're in like the pantry or something?
Like the weapons room, I think?
Oh yeah. Yeah, when he like shut him into the gun room, he was really clear about what he was doing and that he needed to do it alone and that nobody could stop him.
Right.
Like super explicit. So why, as soon as they get out, does Jack like grab all the guns and say, "We're going after him"? Like, why? Why would you do that?
Yeah. I mean, I know why Jack does it. It's like a character thing with him. Like, this is a situation he feels like he has to fix. Like, he doesn't want this on his conscience. But I 100% agree. Like, there should be no one going after Michael and risking themselves in this way. Like, even Jin later starts packing up a bat. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, this is not gonna go anywhere good. Mm-hmm. Like, I like Anna Lucia later when she and Jack are having that conversation on the beach, and she's like, "Yep, well, that was always going to happen. Michael was always going to go off on his own. Like, you can't do anything about that. It's like, yes,
because duh.
Exactly. Like, that should have been their immediate reaction. So.
Yes. And like the fact that they are loading up on the guns too is also such a bad thing. Like, nothing good has happened for you people by having guns. And, you know, Jack was so protective in season 1 of the guns and how like they need to be careful. And I feel like he is also the first one to go grab them. Like, this is the second time in a few episodes where he's been the one to initiate that.
That's true. I feel like it would be even dumber for them to go out there without guns, but that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can say it's like a protective thing, you know, like self-protection.
Yeah, I mean, to me, everything just feels heightened. Even though we just had that horrible tragedy with Shannon, that accident, like, I feel like everything, all the information we got about the others from the Tailies and what they went through, like, to me, after I saw that episode, it was like, if you're going outside of camp, please take a gun. Like, you don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, and that makes sense. Like, in my mind, it was just they're tracking Michael down. So why do you need a gun to track Michael down? But, like, I mean, I get that point.
Yeah, he's like heading toward them, so.
Yeah. It's a fool's errand, you guys.
It really is. And again, I feel like Sawyer would be, even though he cares about Michael, he'd be like, should be the voice of reason here and be like, guys, like, he's already gone off and tried this once. Like, he's not going to talk him into coming back. What are we doing?
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That is definitely true.
In a flashback, Jack is checking on Mr. Busoni. His daughter walks in and asks Jack how it's going. Jack isn't satisfied with his counts. Gabriella tells Jack he's been doing tests for a month, and he replies he's thorough. She says she doesn't believe in miracles, and Jack agrees. She brings up Jack's wife Sarah, and when Jack realizes it's 4:30 in the morning, he quickly leaves. When he gets home, Sarah is awake and asks Jack how his patient is. Jack apologizes, but Sarah says that's the price of being a miracle worker. Sarah tells Jack she was late and got a pregnancy test, but not to worry, it was negative. Jack asks her if she wants to talk about it, but apparently there's nothing to talk about.
This is awkward.
Yeah, such tension between the two of them.
Yeah. Don't worry, it was negative. You're like, whoa, okay.
Right. It's kind of a big deal, but I guess it's fine.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like Sarah just knows Jack's priority is his work and saving lives, and that is his passion, and she's not, and I think that's the whole crux of the issue for them.
Yeah, it's hard because Jack should definitely be paying more attention to his wife, but he does have one of those jobs where that always has to come first, you know? So,
well, it doesn't always have to come first, but I can see how it, like, can take over your life sometimes.
I feel like it does, though, because in those life or death situations, like, if he gets a call from the hospital.
He's not in a life or death situation. He's doing tests that he's been doing for a month.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm just saying, like, overall, like, if he ever gets a call when he's at home or doing something with her, you know,
sure.
for surgery
I mean,
or
there
something.
could be situations, but we're seeing an example of when it isn't like that, and I'm sure that this is not the first time it's happened.
I'm not saying it's, like, all on Jack isn't at fault here. It's just, I don't know. He has one of those jobs where it's like she knew what she was getting into when she married him. You know? It's like, it just kind of sucks. Like, it's just how it is.
Yeah. I mean, definitely to a degree, that's true. They're in such a hard situation, and it's interesting, like, that conversation that he has with Gabriella where she's asking if he believes in miracles, and he says no, like, so quickly. And I was like, what does he think, you know, happened with Sarah? What does he think is going to happen with, you know, Gabriella's father? It's not a miracle, so what does he think it is? Just, you know, him being awesome?
I mean, I don't know about that, but I feel like it's so ingrained in him not to have faith in these things and miracles and whatever else. So even though what happened with Sarah was amazing, I feel like it's going to take more for Jack to admit to believing in miracles, you know?
Yeah. It's so amazing because, we talked about it in that episode with Sarah, when all that crazy stuff was happening for Jack all at once and Desmond and all that, and seeing amazing things happening all around him. And you're like, we realized he wasn't going to believe, like, no matter what he saw, it didn't matter. And here, it's just kind of confusing because he took this case that, he should be inoperable.
Yeah.
So why did he take it if he doesn't believe in miracles?
Because he has to try. He has to try to fix this man. Like, that's what he does. He has to fix things. That's his, that's like what his character revolves around.
He just has to try whether it's possible or not.
Right. He's very stubborn that way.
Indeed.
Outside the hatch, Locke and Kate are able to pick up Michael's trail. Kate asks for a gun, but Jack says she's not coming. Someone has to look after the button. Kate protests, but there's no arguing with Jack today. They leave Kate behind. So Jack obviously isn't great here. He's like really mean to Kate, but I feel like it's still coming from a good place. Like, I feel like this is a dangerous situation and he's just trying to protect her. It kind of reminded me of the situation we had in the season 1 finale with the carrying of the dynamite when he, didn't want Kate to do that.
Yep. I'm very tired of Jack, like, ordering Kate around under the guise of protecting her. It's so annoying to me. Like, it just feels like he treats her like a child sometimes, and it irks me because this gets put on Kate by fans.
Yeah,
they
it really
all
does.
say, like, well, Kate needs to stop going after and, like, trying to tag along on all these missions she has no business being a part of. And I'm like, she has just as much right to be a part of any mission as anybody else. Like, they are all equals on this island. Like, it's just ridiculous to act like Kate doesn't have any authority over herself.
Yeah.
Especially, like, as she points out, I know how to track. I know how to handle a gun. She's much more capable than most people on this island.
Right, that's fair. Like, anyone could have watched the button. It didn't have to be Kate. It could have been Sawyer. It could have been Locke or whoever. Yeah, I mean, I would agree with part of that. It does, I feel like in this scene in particular, it really does feel like he's treating her like a child. I would argue that the decision she makes to go after them anyway is kind of problematic. And I know it's like you said, like, a lot of fans put this on her. They're like, this is this trait that Kate has where she always has to go on the hike and be on the mission, even if, it creates more problems. So, to be honest, I'm not really sure how I feel about her deciding to go after them anyway. I mean, in this scene, she had every right to be going on this hike with the three of them, like, absolutely. But for her to, like, it just feels almost, I don't know what the right word is, but it's like petulant almost for her to just decide to do it anyway.
Well, there's not much purpose to it, because what is she doing by, like, secretly coming along?
Right. It feels like she's just doing it because she was told no. And now she's only hurting herself and kind of everyone else by doing it secretly, Like,
I mean, there's also the perspective that what she did is she went back, found someone to cover the button, which we see happen, and then was catching up to them and that's when the others got her. Like, maybe she wasn't secretly coming along. Maybe she was trying to get to them and just hadn't caught up to them in time.
Yeah, that's fair. That could be true.
Like she never says she's doing her like own secret agent mission or anything, you know?
Yeah.
But I feel like everybody assumes that because, I don't know, just because of the way it happens.
Yeah, it's
frustrating because either way, you know, she shouldn't have been put in that position. It didn't need to happen like that. And it's just, I want her to just be like, I don't care what you think, I'm coming, but she's not going to do that because she cares about Jack.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. I know, I kind of wanted her just because Sawyer, like, I don't think Jack would have chosen Sawyer to come on this, but Sawyer's just like, I'm coming and there's nothing you can do about it. So,
yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't have minded Kate doing that too.
It also feels a little bit like he's mad at her. Like, mad that she has feelings for Sawyer, mad that she kissed him and is like acting like that didn't happen, and now he's like trying to punish her or something. Not like, you know, not maybe directly, but sometimes you act this way when you're feeling hurt.
Yeah, I think the fact that she kissed him and then, as far as we've seen, has been blatantly avoiding him and not talking to him.
Yeah, we have only seen her with Sawyer since she kissed Jack.
Right, and I could definitely see that getting under his skin and him taking it out, like not even realize how annoyed he is by that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I can too.
So yeah, this is problematic. Again, I do feel like Jack has the best intentions here for protecting Kate, but I don't like the way he goes about this. It's not good.
That about sums it up.
Oh man, this episode, I'm like liking it less and less as we talk about it.
Oh no.
Oh guys. Okay.
Sorry, Randy.
It's okay. It's fine. I still love Jack, so.
Love him, flaws and all.
I do.
I get it. I love Sawyer and all his flaws.
Yes. Everyone's got flaws in this show.
I know. Nobody loves a character on Lost because they're, like, perfect.
Nope.
Those so ones don't exist.
They really don't. While tracking Michael, Sawyer asks Jack what Kate did to him. Jack says nothing, but Sawyer thinks otherwise. Jack says he knows that Sawyer loves Kate. Sawyer looks very confused and Locke interrupts. He asks Sawyer if their surroundings look familiar. Apparently, Michael is not heading back to where the Tailies came from. He's heading north to somewhere new.
I love Locke completely ignoring the drama.
Yeah, Locke is like, I don't have time for this nonsense. Okay.
He's just like in pure tracker mode and he does not care about this weird conversation that they're having.
Yeah.
And I like, you know, this obvious moment where Sawyer is really, he cares about Kate and he's asking Jack what's up with him being all assholey to her.
Oh, harsh. Yeah.
And this, you know, this is just a continuation of the last scene for Jack because he just doesn't come off well in this scene either. Like the way he says, well, why don't you go back and see if I hurt her feelings? You know, like it just sounds so cold and like not the Jack that he should be.
Yeah. It's so weird the way he acts toward Kate throughout this whole episode. Like it's cold in a way that we haven't seen in this season. You know what I'm talking about? They've kind of been building up this nice flirtatious thing they've been having. They've been getting closer and this is just like a complete
Ironically,
wall.
The last time I feel like he was really like this was when they were tracking down Charlie and Claire.
Yeah, a little bit.
He was being really like snappy and aggressive to her. Only in that one she like stopped him and was like, what is up with you?
Yeah, I feel like that wasn't quite as much toward her though, because he was also being snappy with Locke. And that whole situation.
Yeah, but he's always snappy with Locke. That's just normal.
I mean, true, but this just feels like it's so directed, like, completely at Kate. And it's just like, dude, I know things are complicated between you two, but in my opinion, you're clearly in love with her. Where is this coming from? Like, please take a breath. Nothing you're doing is going to help this thing that you have with her.
Yeah. Plus, Sawyer gives such a great line in this scene that I always laugh really hard at when he says, "Oh yeah, that's my favorite leaf."
Oh my god, I love that. Listen, Sawyer has some great lines in this episode. I wrote down at least 3 or 4 of them. It's so good.
He's so needed in scenes like this because it's so tense and, you know, humor is not part of who Jack Shephard is. And, you know, when he is surrounded by Sawyer and Locke, we need some, like, diffusion of the tension.
Yeah, so true. It made me really appreciate it watching it this time because I feel like just kind of write his funnier lines off sometimes because I don't like him as a character normally.
Just like, shut up.
Right. But he has, like, his delivery is so good.
He's very funny. Josh Holloway does a great job.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, I feel like this scene kind of speaks to something we were talking about in episode 9, what Kate did. Like, to me, this is factual proof that Sawyer is not actually in love with Kate at this point in time. Because he looks so confused when Jack casually mentions it.
You don't think he's maybe confused at why Jack knows that?
I don't think so. I think the way he played it was just like, what the hell are you talking about, dude? I'm not in love with her. Again, I'm not denying their connection.
It's factual proof, but I think you could interpret it that way.
It's factual proof to me.
You're really stretching, Randy.
I know. Again, I'm not trying to deny their connection, which they clearly have, but I just don't believe that he loves her at this point. I really don't.
I get it.
But on the beach, Jen sees Kate talking to Hurley. Sun comes over and insists he put on a hat because of the sun. Hurley walks over and Sun wants to know if Kate's all right. Hurley tells them about Michael stealing a gun and taking off. Jen starts packing a bag to go after Michael, but Sun isn't having any of it. She was worried sick when Jen was on the raft, and she's not going through that again. Jen tells her Michael is his friend, but Sun points out that she's his wife. He puts his bag down.
Excellent decision, Jen.
Mm-hmm. They've really come a long way, Jen and Sun.
They have. It's so nice. I love them wearing the hat.
Yeah.
So goofy.
Yeah, that would never have happened in season 1. This scene.
Absolutely not. It's great.
Yeah. I love it.
And I feel like, you know, this to me is what I thought of when Sawyer jumped in to come along with Jack. Because Jen had that same reaction too. Like, all right, let's go get him back. I feel like Jen, Michael, and Sawyer have kind of like connected over this crazy adventure they've had.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Jen is like, without a second thought, it's like ready to go. Sawyer asks to take a hiking break. Locke confirms Michael is still heading north. He seems to know exactly where he's going. Locke wants to know what Jack plans to do when they catch up to Michael. What if he doesn't want to come back to camp? Jack says he'll talk him into coming back. Locke thinks Michael might be past reasoning with. Who are we to tell anyone what they can or can't do? He asks Jack.
Boom. Locke wisdom.
Yeah. Classic Locke wisdom. He should get that tattooed on his forehead at this point.
God, yes. I should get it tattooed on my forehead. I love this scene. This is my favorite scene in the whole episode, and it's like 10 seconds long.
Is it? That's so funny.
It's just so good. He's just so Locke. I just love the deep meaning to everything he says.
Mm-hmm.
It's the path of a man who knows where he's going. Where are you going, Jack?
Oh God, I don't like that line. It's like, I don't know.
It makes me so happy. And Jack just looks at him like so annoyed. He's like, what? Like, what are you talking about now, John Locke?
See, that's how I would look at John if I was in that scene. Not that like Locke doesn't have a point, but it's like, can you please stop speaking in rhymes and like wisdom words? Like, we have a serious situation on our hands. I don't have time for your philosophical questions right now, okay?
And yet, these philosophical questions are all that matters. If Jack could actually take the time to think about these questions, they would not be on this crazy mission.
I mean,
you know, like, where are you going, Jack? You're going to find a crazy person who lost his child and is going to do whatever he can to get him back. Do you really think you're going to convince him to come hang out with you in the hatch? I don't think so. So what is the purpose of this mission? And why do you feel like you have the right to tell people what they can and can't do?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I just wish Locke he doesn't need to ask these questions in these situations. Like, can he wait to ask these questions when they're in the hatch, like chilling at a table or something?
You think Jack would let him like stop and have a conversation? I feel like he has to do it now.
Yeah, but like Jack isn't, like, he doesn't get anything out of it. He's not paying attention. He doesn't care.
That's on Jack. Locke's trying. It's such a good line, and it's such a problem that Jack has, where he feels he's so controlling. And, you know, that's the issue with Kate too, is he's trying to control her, and he doesn't see the boundaries of when he should do that or not do that, when he has the right and when he doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because, yeah, he's definitely controlling with Kate, but I feel like some of that is, you know, he feels so responsible because he's their de facto leader. So it's like a line that he crosses and doesn't cross, and it's, yeah, I feel like it's hard for him. He definitely doesn't know when to cross it and when not to cross it, so.
Right. And, you know, that's this sort of dividing philosophy between him and Locke, where Locke doesn't try to control people. He tries to guide them, and he does it in a very, like, I don't know, wise way, I guess. And
I mean, some of the time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Some of the time.
Most
of the time, I think.
Yeah. I just feel like whenever Locke says things like this, like, who are we to tell anyone what they can or can't do? Which is so true. I can't help thinking back to, like, his situation with Boone and how he drugged him and, like, made him keep the hatch a secret for weeks. It's like, but you're not always as wise as you think you are, Locke. You know?
Yeah. You know, at the same time, you know, while he probably should not have done that, he wasn't like making the choice for Boone to break apart from Shannon. You know, like, he wasn't making the choice for Charlie to not take drugs. He's trying to create situations where they make that choice themselves.
Right. And I'm just saying sometimes he goes way too far.
Yeah.
Like the situation with Boone.
For sure. But I think in his mind, in his philosophy, it's always a choice.
Yeah. Oh, Locke. I'm going to be very interested to watch his next episode this season. I don't really remember what happens, but
I mean, I'm happy for every Locke episode ever, so I agree.
It's just, I mean, I don't love him like you do, but he's so different. He's so interesting.
Yeah, he's in his own league on this island.
Yeah.
Like, whether you like him or not, he's just in his own category.
Absolutely. At the hospital, Jack is having Gabriella fill out some paperwork. He tells her it's not too late to change her mind and that her father's tumors are very aggressive. She signs the paperwork and tells Jack he's giving them a chance, even if the surgery is not successful. Christian interrupts and Gabriella leaves. Christian tells Jack to be careful. He's very close to crossing a line. Jack says his father would know all about that. It may be okay for some people, but not for you, Christian says to Jack before he leaves.
Such a good line.
Yeah, it is a good line.
Why do you feel like he says that?
It may be okay for some people, but not for you.
Mm-hmm. Like, why isn't it okay for Jack?
Jack is, like, so regimented, and I feel like he's not all about, but, like, rules and boundaries are very important to him.
Yeah.
So, and obviously, even though, we've said this before, even though Jack and Christian's relationship is very tumultuous, Christian knows Jack really well.
Yeah.
So, to me, it's just another example of that, where he's just like, I know this is gonna, like, it will break a little part of your mind that maybe it wouldn't for other people who don't value rules the way you do, and, like, you know, have everything, it doesn't believe in miracles, like everything is about science and fact, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and he told him in season 1 that he can't handle failure, and to Jack, if he was unfaithful to his wife, then he would be failing her.
Right.
And he wouldn't be able to handle that. I also thought, like, Jack is the hero, you know, like, it may be okay for some people, but not for him, because as, like, the hero, you have a higher standard of morality that you can live with. And, you know, Christian knows that Jack wouldn't be able to live with himself if he was, you know, crossing that line.
Yeah, that's so true. Like, as the hero, he has farther to fall if he, you know, does cross the line and slips up.
Yeah.
So interesting.
I love Christian. I'm just going to say that now. He makes me happy.
I guess. I think he's still kind of a terrible father, but he's very interesting.
He is very interesting, and he always has something interesting to say.
Yeah. Back in the jungle, Jack, Locke, and Sawyer are hiking up Mount Vesuvius, according to Sawyer, anyway. Sawyer nicknames Locke Mr. Clean, which I love because it's so true.
It is so true.
Locke asks Sawyer why he picked that name. He's seen the flight manifest and knows Sawyer's real name is James Ford. Sawyer's not answering, and they hear gunshots. Jack yells Michael's name and starts to run toward the gunshots, which is pretty dumb, in my opinion.
Yes. I wrote, Jack, oh my God, do you want to get shot? Did you learn nothing from Shannon?
Seriously. It's like, Jack, you're not this stupid. Come on. Like, take a breath.
So ridiculous.
It is.
This is the stuff he does sometimes where I'm like, this is not Mr. Rationality. There's no way in hell Saeed would ever do that.
Yeah, oh, they should have taken Saeed if he wasn't in his, like, depression about Shannon.
Yep, when I saw him in the scene that's coming up, I was like, this is the guy who you should have brought, right? Obviously.
God, so true.
But yeah, I always think, you know, when we have that dichotomy of Jack versus Locke and, you know, the rational versus the faith, I'm like, he is not the rational one. Saeed is.
Yeah.
Because these are the moments where he's not, this whole episode, Jack is not rational. He's emotional. And that's fine. That's a character trait for him. But, you know, I just don't want to call him the rational one anymore. It's just not right.
Yeah, it's like, almost like in my mind, he's rational when it comes to things like faith and medicine and science. But yeah, in situations like this, he's not rational at all.
It feels to me like they decided he's the rational one because he's the doctor. Like the doctor has to be rational. Yeah. And I feel like that's not who he is, actually. Like, it's rational to not take this case because this guy is inoperable, like Christian was saying. You know, he's taking it because Jack is an emotional person and he wants to help this one. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that is a major, like, inconsistency with him.
Yeah, you know, you're right. It's almost like at the beginning of the show, they kind of put him in this box of being the doctor, being the hero, you know, being like the good person, for lack of better words. But he's like so much more complicated than that. So
yeah, like, what if they had made him be the doctor who is not so rational, is like, you know, who feels too much, and that is what makes his job so hard.
Yeah.
You know, like that is to me more interesting, and also less stereotypical. I feel like the doctor character is always the like, I believe in science guy. So it would be so much more refreshing to see, you know, this emotional Jack. Like, the problem with Jack is that he just has two lanes, and they don't really pick one. They put him in both of them all the time, and it's confusing.
I mean, you could argue that they do this in order to arc his character towards where he ends up in the very end of Lost. Because I feel like, not to give any spoilers, but that's kind of almost at the opposite of where he starts.
Yeah, but it's not consistent enough.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, there are moments where he's just purely, you know, Mr. Rational, and then there's moments where he's so far away from that like it doesn't make sense for him to have ever been that guy, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. We've definitely got some inconsistency problems with Jack.
They just could have written him so much better. It's just frustrating. There are moments where I feel like I would have liked him if they just changed some of these little things that add up.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I still love him, but...
I know, and lots of people do. Like, I know that this only bugs like a certain percentage of people, but I think this is what bugs people is, you know, there are two lanes of Jack, and I think you either respond to one or the other.
Yeah.
And like, if you really buy into like the positive aspects of him, you love him. But if like the negative ones jump out at you, it's just really hard.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't want to seem like we're just spending this whole episode just bashing Jack, because I really do. Like, he's still one of my favorite characters, but I feel like you do have to not acknowledge the inconsistencies with him, especially in this episode. So
yeah, and it's like, I feel as someone who doesn't like Jack that I have to explain why so many people don't like him and like where that comes from, because it's not like this blind hatred for Jack. I'm not like one of those people who obsessively wants Kate and Sawyer to be together, you know, like that's not it. I just feel like this character could be so much better, and there's so many great characters on the show that I don't understand why they like failed so hard with Jack. I know they didn't fail completely. I mean, a lot of people love him.
I wouldn't say that, but
to me, he's just so drastically different from everybody else. Yeah. Just because of that inconsistency, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue there's a few other characters who also have this same problem, but maybe it's just more noticeable with Jack because he is like the guy, the main character, you know?
Yeah, and you know, either way you come down on all this, that heightens whatever you feel about him. You know, like the fact that you spend so much time with Jack, we get so many more flashbacks with him than anybody else. It will either make you love him more or hate him more.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm so glad we're doing this podcast because I feel like back in college, first of all, we would not have been able to have a rational conversation about Jack or Sawyer or any of this, but I really do understand why you don't like him. It's like really clear to me. Yeah. And I get it.
You're right.
Like,
we couldn't have had this conversation back in the day.
I mean, mostly because of me, because I would have just been really mad. But
there's also sort of like hindsightness about it after seeing the whole thing, you know?
Definitely. Definitely. But yeah, I get it.
Sorry for the Jack rant. I try to contain it most episodes, but it's really hard when it's all about him.
Coming back, Jack is running through the trees with Locke and Sawyer bringing up the rear. Locke spots more signs of Michael, and Sawyer reminds Jack that the others took Cindy less than a mile from their camp. While Locke finds the trail again, Jack asks Sawyer if he's out here for Michael or revenge. Sawyer asks Jack why he's out here. They both have their reasons. Which, I mean, fair point, Sawyer.
Yeah. I don't understand, like, why he would be going after Michael for revenge. That doesn't make any sense.
I don't think it does either. I'm so confused. Like, it seems like they just wanted Sawyer to be with Jack and Locke on this hike that they go on, and like, they needed to give him a reason, and they just kind of pulled this out of thin air. Because I don't think it makes a lot of sense, personally.
See, I think, like I said, I think he cares about Michael, and that's why he's here. And I think they threw this in, Jack saying this, just to like make it a little murky on why Sawyer's doing this, like to give him some possible bad motivations. Because I feel like we're always kind of playing with that gray area with Sawyer, like, is he bad? Is he good? So
yeah, I mean, and I don't think this is necessarily a bad motivation for him. Like, the guy, Zeke, as Sawyer will later call him, like, shot him and blew up the raft. Like, if Sawyer wants revenge, like, you know how I feel about revenge, fine, whatever. I just don't.
Oh, I thought he meant revenge, like, for Michael.
Oh, I didn't read it that way.
Oh, now I don't know which one it is. I don't know. Either way, I didn't understand.
Yeah, because it just doesn't seem to me like Sawyer would, if he wanted revenge on the guy Zeke who shot him, would just go after him like this. Like, it's not smart. Do you know what I mean?
No, like, yeah, because he doesn't even know that, like, that's necessarily who he's going to encounter.
Right.
Or any of that. And Jack phrases it really awkwardly, too. He says, are you out here for Michael or payback for getting shot? Those are his words. And the way there's no focus, like, so I feel like you can interpret that so many different ways, like payback towards Michael, payback towards the others.
Yeah, that's
either way,
so
it
true.
doesn't make sense, because why would Sawyer suddenly join in this mission? If he really cared, he wouldn't have been chilling on the beach,
Right. It just seems out of character for Sawyer to do this.
But it's not. It's not.
I'm not saying it's not out of character for Sawyer to care. I'm saying it's out of character for him to pick up a gun and go on this stupid mission this way, this blatant, like, without any type of plan or secrecy. You know what I mean? Like, Sawyer's a con artist. That's what he does. Like, he's smart. He's intelligent. Like, this just doesn't seem like the way he would go about this.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. I was focused on the emotional part. Emotionally, I think it makes sense for him to want to help Michael.
Yeah, I guess.
But I'll agree that this plan sucks.
Yeah, stupid. In a flashback, Jack is pretty upset. The surgery didn't end well, and Mr. Busoni didn't make it. His father tells him it wasn't his fault, it was always going to be risky. Christian has already told Gabriella about the failed surgery. He reminds Jack he's still the chief and tells him to go home. Later, as Jack is walking to his car, Gabriella finds him. She thanks Jack for trying and starts crying. Jack hugs her and she kisses him. He kisses her back and pulls away and says he can't before walking away.
So why does he kiss Gabriella? Why is he drawn to her?
I don't know. I think it may be for the obvious reasons that he's been, working with her father for weeks and weeks, it seems like, at that point, and they've just grown really close because Jack is he gets so involved in his work, and especially when he's trying to fix someone. I mean, you could argue that that's one of the main reasons why he and Sarah ended up together, because when Jack's in this situation, he just can't help it.
Yeah. Like I said before, he's emotionally in it.
Yeah.
I felt like he was drawn to her because she needed him. And Jack seems drawn to people when they are needy, so that he can fix and take care of them. Like Sarah,
Yeah.
She needed him too. And she doesn't anymore. And, here's Gabriella, who not only needs him, but believes in him and believes that, he can help her.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good reading on it. I didn't think about it that way, but that's definitely in character for him. And I feel like it's just heightened by the fact that, you know, Gabriella is obviously grieving for her father, who she just lost, and she's probably not thinking straight. You know, I feel like this might not have happened if she hadn't been so distraught about everything. But...
Oh, sure. Definitely. And I feel like it also explains, you know, his lack of connection with Sarah. As she no longer needs him, he doesn't feel as connected to her.
Yeah. Which is so sad. Like, oh.
That's kind of why I felt like he didn't love her when they got married. Like when he was so wishy-washy about it, and, you know, I guess maybe just knowing that this was going to happen too, like it's hard to separate it, but
yeah.
I always feel like Jack responds to the people who need him, and as soon as Sarah was healed, he's not as emotionally involved.
Yeah, that's true. It's hard because I feel like I might argue that his emotional involvement with his patients is like a tiny part of what makes him such a good doctor.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, he just needs to learn like to separate that emotional involvement and then romantic involvement. Like those two things, like it's never going to work when you mix those two.
Yeah. Yeah, it's making you a good doctor. It's not making you a great husband.
Yeah. Oh, Jack. Night has fallen and Locke has lost the trail. They light some torches and Locke suggests they call it a night. Jack, the person who doesn't know anything about tracking, doesn't understand how you lose a trail. He thinks Locke doesn't really want to find Michael. Locke says this isn't true, and Jack tells Locke that they'll never see Michael again if they leave now, and that will be on them. Suddenly, a man, who Sawyer later refers to as Zeke, appears in the trees, telling Jack that he would do well to listen to Locke. So this is the scene where I was just really like, all right, Jack, you need to calm down. Like,
I know, only Jack can bring out the sarcasm in Locke.
Yeah. And usually, you know, I'm not a huge fan of Locke, so it's always fine, but I'm just like, dude, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, when he accuses Locke of not really wanting to find Michael, it's like, what have we been doing for the last 6 hours? Like, God.
Yes, I ran towards gunfire because I don't want to help Michael.
Yeah.
Ugh, God. He says things that make no sense sometimes. They're just emotional. He doesn't want to stop, so he's just gonna say whatever comes out of his mouth to get them to keep going.
Yeah. Again, I feel like he's at a 10 in this episode. Like, it's never really bothered me before, but for some reason, this particular scene was just so irritating.
Is it like to me, this is not super different from things we've seen in the past. So I'm trying to figure out what it is that's different in this episode. Is it just because the things he's saying really don't make sense and like you just really disagree with his plan?
I guess. And again, in the back of my mind, I know that Jack feels guilty. Like he says in this scene, like, I don't want, we'll never see Michael again and that will be on us. So obviously he doesn't want to lose people, but
that's wrong too. 'Cause it won't be on them. It's not their responsibility to take care of Michael.
Yeah, but like, I mean, that's such a character trait for Jack.
He will feel that.
He always feels that way. Yeah.
He will feel like he failed in some way, but nobody else would ever say that.
I don't know, maybe because when I was watching this episode, I kept thinking back to, what's that episode called? All the Best Cowboys Have Daddy Issues, where they were going after Ethan, and he was kind of doing the same thing, snapping at Locke and Kate. Mm-hmm. But I feel like with that, and you said this earlier, like Kate was able to like take him aside and be like, hey, you're acting crazy, calm down. And then they had like a conversation where Jack kind of talked about his guilt, and like Kate is not here. And so he has no one to take him aside and be like, you were acting insane, even though I know your intentions are probably good. Like, what's going on? So without that, like, I'm just like, it's just, I don't know. I can't handle it. I don't like it.
You need Kate.
Yeah. Kate should have come.
This all stems from the fact that Jack sent Kate away.
Oh,
Jack and Kate should be together.
Man, should always be together.
No, but that does make sense. And, you know, as far as Jack's plans go, this is definitely one of the worst ones.
Yeah. Coming back, Sawyer identifies Zeke as the guy who shot him on the raft.
Is his name actually Zeke?
Yeah.
I thought that was just like a clever Sawyer nickname.
So, I forgot that this character's name's actually something else. I won't say, even though it's not really a huge spoiler. But when I was looking up trivia for this episode, it was like, yeah, Sawyer nicknames him Zeke, which I forget the story behind that. But I was like, oh, I just thought his name was Zeke for some reason.
I was trying to figure out. I'm like, did I miss something?
Yeah.
So it's like, it really is a nickname. It's just all we have to go on right now.
Yeah, it is. And in my mind, for some reason, like, when this character shows up, I'm like, oh, it's Zeke. Hey, Zeke. Like, I just totally forgot this character had another real name that I just... So I felt kind of dumb. But...
You shouldn't feel dumb.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna call him Zeke for now, because that's all we have to go on at this point, so...
That'll do. Yeah, in The Wizard of Oz, Zeke is the name of one of the farmhands who worked for Dorothy's uncle, Henry Gale.
Which is such kind of an obscure reference.
It is, but holy foreshadowing, Batman.
Yeah. I mean, true.
So good.
Sawyer's just on fire with the nicknames in this episode. Like,
oh my gosh. Master of naming things, including this podcast.
Yeah. So true.
Randy and I were sitting in a coffee shop like, what the hell do we call this podcast? It was like, oh yeah, you just listen to Sawyer and he will name things for you.
Of course, he names everything. Coming back, Sawyer identifies Zeke as the guy who shot him on the raft. He goes to shoot, but is stopped by a bullet coming from somewhere in the trees. Jack and Locke lower their guns, and Jack asks about Michael. Zeke says not to worry about Michael. He won't find them. He asks Locke to build a fire. It's time they all had a little chat. So yeah, you know something's about to go down. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so good. And I just love that he knows all their names.
Yeah.
Knows Locke would be the guy to build the fire. He knows them. And that is just the greatest thing about this meeting.
Yeah, definitely. Back in the hatch, Hurley and Charlie are checking out the hatch's record collection. Hurley brings up Libby, saying she's kind of cute. He reckons he has a shot with her, being that they're on a desert island and everything. Charlie has heard none of this, however, and wonders if Claire is missing him. Saeed comes in, and they fill him in on the situation with Michael. Everyone's gone after him. Jack, Sawyer, Locke, and of course, Kate.
Everyone but the guy who probably should have.
Right?
This scene is so funny. This is the Charlie and Hurley that I love and remember.
Yes! Charlie and Hurley listening to records is all I've ever wanted from this show. I would watch this for an hour straight.
Just shooting the breeze, talking about the girls they like.
Yeah.
It's so cute.
It's great. And also, I found it so funny that we were just talking last week about how everyone ignores Charlie. And he's blatantly ignoring Hurley throughout this whole scene.
Oh, that's so true. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, Charlie.
But Hurley would never ignore Charlie, because Hurley's the best.
No, Hurley is the best. Back in the jungle, a fire has been built, and Zeke tells them he comes in peace. He says Walt is fine, and that he's very special. Zeke proceeds to instruct our survivors on proper guest etiquette. When you go over to someone's house for the first time, you don't take off your shoes and put your feet on the coffee table. He says this is their island, and the others are letting the survivors live here. Jack doesn't believe any of this, and says if they had any real strength, they wouldn't have had to send Ethan to spy on them. Zeke very quickly proves him wrong, as a ton of torches are suddenly lit all around them. He tells Jack that there is a line right here that cannot be crossed. Hand in your weapons and go home, he tells them, but Jack says no. Zeke calls for Alex to bring her out, and he reveals Kate, who's tied up and gagged. He tells Jack he'll shoot Kate unless he turns around. He starts to count, but Jack tells him to stop. Jack, Locke, and Sawyer all drop their weapons, and Kate is let go. Jack asks if she's all right, and the others are already gone.
So much to talk about in this scene.
So much. This is a great scene.
It is. Yeah, this might actually be the best scene in the episode. This is really good.
It's my favorite.
So intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things happening. I love the subtle name drop of Alex.
Yeah.
You know, like, I know I never picked up on that the first time I watched.
I didn't either. It's
this
so
time
good.
I was like, oh, but gosh, I didn't even realize that was Alex.
Yeah, because it's been so long that that character was mentioned at all, you know? When's the last time we saw Rousseau? It's been ages.
We just haven't spent much time with Rousseau this season.
Yeah.
But it's so good at just like subtly tying that story in. And I also love that we have like the fundamental difference between Jack and Locke when this happens, because like as soon as Zeke is talking, Locke says, "How do you know our names?" And Jack says, "You took Walt." And it's just like,
yeah,
it's so them. Like Locke is focused on the mystery and Jack is focused on the concrete. He doesn't even want to ask questions. He just is like, this is what it is.
Right.
It's just so great.
Yeah, that's so true.
And then Kate comes out.
Yeah, it's... Oh, Kate, why did you have to go after them?
Because Jack was a jerk to her.
Yes, but for her to go after them on her own.
What's she gonna do? Sit around and brood? That is not the Kate way.
This is so reckless of her. It's so dangerous. But
I do hate this countdown though, where he's like counting to 3 and Jack is like, he waits till like the last second as if this is a decision to even think about.
Right. To me, this is always like super out of character for him, because there was never any possible way he was going to let him shoot Kate. Like, he was not thinking about it. No, absolutely not.
Right. So like, why, like, in what world would you sacrifice Kate to run after Michael, who's probably not coming back anyway? It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. It was just like to build tension, which they didn't need in the scene, because the scene already had so much. It was so like false, and it would have been better for him to just like instantly say, you know, drop his weapon. You know, that would have sent a message that he cared about her. Like, is he hesitating because he's mad at her? I don't know. Yeah.
It's probably just for that dramatic moment.
Yeah, that's what I think. Like, it doesn't make sense.
It comes across wrong. It comes across poorly on him because of that need for the drama.
Right. It's a big moment, and it just doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, one of my favorite parts in this scene is when the actor who plays Zeke is talking about like proper guest etiquette. Mm-hmm. And he's like, you're gonna go over someone's house, you don't walk in with your shoes on or put your feet on the coffee table, because it's just so crazy for him to be talking about these things when they're on a desert island. And it's not like Jack and all the other survivors like landed here purposely. Like, their plane crashed and he's talking about the island like they own it and it's their like physical object that they possess. It's so crazy. I love it.
It's so good. It's so intimidating.
Yeah.
You know, when he's like, this is not your island, this is our island, and we let you live on it.
Right.
It's just such a major power play.
Yeah.
This is serious business, and you're not gonna like deal with these guys by randomly running through the jungle with a gun.
Right. Yeah, and it's great because up until this point, aside from the one-off characters of Ethan and the other one that Ana Lucia killed, can't remember his name right now, and like the scene at the end of season 1 where like they came and took Walt, we've only ever heard whispers in the jungle or seen them walking by silently. Like, we haven't had a whole long scene like this, like where they're I guess we're assuming it's their leader talking to them, and where when all the torches light up, we see how many of them there are. Like, it's really, really intriguing. It's really good.
Yeah, I love it. It's the best thing in this episode.
Yeah.
Because it just opens the door to the others in a way that we haven't before. And it's really setting up a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, when I think about this episode, I always remember this scene. So,
yeah.
So good.
So good.
Back on the beach, Sun finds Jin sitting alone. He says he couldn't sleep. He tells Sun he doesn't like being told what to do. Sun replies that was her life for 4 years. And hey, guess what? She didn't like it much either.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jin agrees and puts an arm around her. Back in the jungle, Kate tells Jack she made a mistake and that she was just trying to help. She apologizes and just wants Jack to talk to her. Jack says he's sorry too and keeps walking. So yeah, again, loving this new Jin we're getting. It's really great.
It is. It's wonderful. And yeah. I like that kind of connection to what Locke was talking about earlier, how you don't have the right to tell anyone what to do, even your spouse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that. This scene with Jack and Kate is such a significant moment in their relationship. And like, it's so complicated because I still don't think Kate should have come after them like she did. And I don't know what Jack is thinking. Like, it almost feels like he's more disappointed than mad at her. And the entire thing is just like a mess. And I don't know.
It is a mess. And like the way he says sorry, I don't know how to interpret it because he doesn't sound very sorry for anything. And he should be. Like, I don't know. I don't. Like,
yeah.
she seems genuinely sorry and like seeking his forgiveness, and he just seems still pissed off.
Yeah, I don't know what he's thinking. Like, I honestly don't know.
Like, do you not see, he doesn't see any responsibility for this situation happening.
It almost feels like maybe he does, and that's why he's not talking, because he feels so guilty about how he kind of screwed a lot of this up.
Well, then show some genuine remorse and give Kate a break. That's what he needed to do, is just be like, I'm sorry, I should have let you come.
Yeah.
You know, just like a quick thing like that would have made such a difference.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's like, this is a huge moment because it's just like this wall. There's a wall between them right now.
Yes. And like, I feel like I've said this before, but as much as I love Jack and Kate and I love them so much, I probably couldn't even describe it to you if I tried. Like, the thing I hate most about their relationship is the fact that so many times they just don't talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been doing this for a few episodes now. Like, after they kissed, Kate, it seems like, didn't want to talk to Jack. And now Kate is begging to talk to Jack and she's not getting anything from him. And it's just like, can you guys just, someone needs to lock them in the weapons room in the hatch so they can just have like a 4 or 5 hour conversation and just work out all of these issues. Like, it's so annoying.
It is really annoying. Like, as someone who doesn't even like enjoy Jack, and you know, I find it really irritating too, because it's like that, I don't know, it's that false will they won't they kind of thing, and it's like, it feels artificial sometimes, but then other times it just feels like they have too many issues. They have too many problems. Like, it just, maybe they aren't a great couple, you know? Like, so it's hard. I know you don't feel that way, but they give you plenty of reasons to feel like they shouldn't be together with the way they act sometimes.
It's just dumb because I feel like 99% of their issues would be solved if they actually sat down and had conversations with each other. But they refuse to do that. The writers refuse to give them that time, at least at this point in the show. So it's so irritating to me.
Yeah. I do agree, but I do think they have communicated just poorly. You know, like they're saying bad stuff to each other.
Yeah, like, they have a communication problem. Or at least Jack is
saying bad stuff to Kate. She's not really doing anything to him in this episode. But Yeah, I don't even know.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I love their connection. At least that's, a lot of the reason why I'm drawn to them, just their chemistry, but they do have a big communication problem. And
that stems from lack of trust, I think.
I mean, I guess it is some of that. I'm more mad at the writers at this point because I feel like they could have written this a little differently. This and future situations will get between them. But yeah, trust is definitely an issue for them as well. So
yeah, a hot mess. Hot freaking mess.
Indeed. In our last flashback, Jack comes home and tells Sarah that his patient didn't make it. She's cleaning up from the dinner she had with her mom. They start to wash dishes together. Jack admits that Gabriella kissed him, and he kissed her back. He says he made a mistake, and everything is his fault. Jack promises he's going to fix this, and everything will go back to the way it was, but Sarah tells him she's leaving. She says she was already leaving, and that she's been seeing someone else. They're both crying, and Sarah tells Jack that he will always need something to fix. So I find this heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is. And I think Sarah's a little right, that he will always need something to fix.
Yeah, definitely.
At least at this moment in his life, that's who he is. And that's the crux of their problem.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so consistent with Jack's character.
Mm-hmm. It's good because it's a good reason for his marriage to fail,
Definitely.
It suits that character.
Yeah, it really does.
So is that why he loves Kate? Does he want to fix her? Because Kate's certainly broken.
Yeah, that's true. I wouldn't say that. Gosh, that's a good question though. No, I mean, I will not accept that because that would just make their relationship a lie, and that's not the way it goes in my head. But
hard no.
Yeah, sorry, I don't have anything to back that up with. But
no, it's okay.
It's not true.
I'm good with that.
Okay, great. Back on the beach, Kate watches Jack walk away. Sawyer tells her not to beat herself up. He would have done the same thing. Locke checks in with Claire and Aaron as Charlie watches from a distance. Jack finds Ana Lucia, and she asks him about Michael. She says there's not much anyone can do about that situation. Jack wants to know if she killed one of the others, and says Saeed told him that he was a cop. Ana Lucia confirms this, and Jack asks her how long it would take to train an army.
And why? Why, Jack? Why? Ugh, God.
Yeah. I mean, if I was forced to, I could argue that it makes sense for him to say this, but it's kind of like a nothing cliffhanger. Like, it kind of comes out of nowhere, seemingly.
Yeah, the others have done nothing to them, right now.
I mean, they've killed people, so I wouldn't say that,
but there's no, motivating factor for this. They haven't taken somebody from them. I mean, well, I guess Walt, we can say Walt. But,
yeah.
But, he wasn't concerned about this for the last week. All of a sudden now he's let's train an army. This is gonna go horribly. Your own people are gonna die because the others clearly know what they're doing. They're really well prepared. Why do you think, handing people like Charlie and Claire a gun, that's gonna go well?
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly supposed to be motivated from that whole conversation they just had with Zeke and about how he talked about this is our island and here's a line that you're not supposed to cross. But
it's why is that? Why does he need to contest that? They're living a perfectly fine existence over here. Why does he need to cross the line?
Yeah, I mean, it feels to me like when the writers wrote this scene, they were kind of looking for a cliffhanger to end it on, and they were like, yes, let's talk about an army. That'll be so crazy.
But it's not just that, because they follow through on this.
Right, but I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me when I watch it. Like, it seems like a strange way to end this story.
It's just a terrible plan. It's such a bad plan. And I feel like, to connect this to Ana Lucia's story and why he would be going to her, aside from her, background, is he is looking for revenge here. And that was Ana Lucia's whole problem. So she is like the best person to go to when you are looking to do something that you're going to regret later.
That's true. Wow. So you really hate this plan. I
think it's a horrible plan. They weren't like, if you don't do this, we're going to kill you. They were just like, you stay on your side and we'll stay on our side and nobody bothers each other. So I just don't see why you would mess with that and put your own people into potential danger.
Yeah. I mean, I would argue that they have to do something at this point. Looking at Ethan and how he came and killed someone and how they came and took Walt off the raft and all the people that they took from the tailies. If I was in this situation, I don't know if an army, training an army would be the best idea, but at this point I would feel really scared and feel like, okay, we have to have some kind of plan. We have to do something. They've repeatedly, come and taken so many people and people have died. It's just getting too crazy,
Yeah, I do. I just feel like it's not consistent with where we started when, I always see that key around Jack's neck and how he was like, if we start handing out guns, things are going to go horribly, horribly wrong. 'Cause yes, exactly. They are. So
yeah, it seems like when they found all those weapons in the hatch, that went out the window immediately.
It did. It totally went out the window, and it just doesn't make any sense. Them taking Walt is bad. I get that, and the instinct to go help him. It's just so dangerous. There's plenty of people who already know how to use guns. Just let them go in.
Yeah. Yeah, it's problematic.
We're running real long, and I just don't like this plan.
Yeah, I can see that.
So, what was your theme, Randy?
Oh, gosh. Okay. So, again, like I said at the top of this episode, my theme is just I feel like I've said this before about Jack episodes. It's very generic. I just thought it was that you can't always fix everything. Mm-hmm. So, even though I feel like this is super obvious, when I watch this episode, it still feels like the most prominent thing, the thing they're kind of beating you over the head with over and over again.
Yeah.
And so, obviously Jack demonstrates that when he's trying to kind of fix Michael's departure to go after Walt when that was never going to work. And in his flashbacks, he tries to fix his patient, Mr. Pisoni, and that fails, and he's vowing to fix his marriage, but it's already over. So it's like a lesson I feel like Jack kind of needs to learn about himself,
Yeah. It's always the same lesson with him. So if it starts feeling really repetitive.
Yeah, a little bit. What about you?
So I started right exactly where you were. And I was too irritated by that because I felt like we've said that in every Jack episode. Mm-hmm. And it's not vastly different from that, but I kind of flipped it. I said, how do our strengths also act as our weaknesses?
Ooh, okay.
The whole crux of Jack is, his determination, and that is such an asset to him sometimes, but it's also so hindering too. It's so easy to look at all his stories and see very similar stuff over and over and over, where you feel like you're not getting anywhere. But while he's being his typical Jack self in this episode, we're sort of seeing the dark side to his normal actions and traits.
Yeah.
With Sarah and with Charlie, we saw how his determination was an asset to him. And in this episode, we kind of saw that it can destroy him too. And Angelo died because of it. and, you know, they get into trouble with the others because of it. His marriage falls apart because of it. So it's like two sides of the same coin, and Jack's struggle, he's like always trying to find the balance between his passion and the right thing to do. So I feel like this episode was an example of his passion controlling him.
Yeah, it's like that line that it's so hard for him. Like, he's either over it or on the other side. It's like he can never find the right balance.
Yeah, and I feel like usually it just, like, it hurts himself more than anyone, that he just, like, carries this guilt. And, like, he might snip at somebody or be kind of obnoxious, but he's not usually, like, getting anyone hurt. But in this episode, he was, like, actually dangerous. You know, dangerous as a doctor and dangerous as a leader.
You think he was dangerous as a doctor, even though his patient did die, but he, like, never really had much of a chance anyway. Do you think Jack should have, like, done nothing?
I think that that's why, you know, none of the other doctors would do it, because it's too dangerous, and it's basically just agreeing to kill him.
But if that's what that patient wanted, and his daughter even told him, like, at least you're giving us a chance and you're willing to try. Yeah.
I mean, they definitely wanted that from him.
Yeah.
But it didn't end well. Like, it did lead to his death, like all the other doctors expected it to. So I don't feel like he did anything morally wrong by, like, following their wishes, but I do think it was dangerous.
Yeah, that's interesting. I do like that theme, though, that his, like, strengths can also be his weaknesses, because I feel like you can not only apply that to Jack, but to a lot of the characters on the show.
That is very true.
So I really like that. Yeah.
Well, and because we see all these traits in Jack and this struggle with him in every Jack episode, but it usually turns out pretty good for him. So I felt like the only difference in this episode is that it didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. Oh, man. What an episode.
Seriously. We have some control problems.
That we do.
Nobody makes you talk like Jack does.
I know. Yeah, even though this episode isn't one of my favorites, I still enjoy talking about it, I think, mostly.
Yeah, I liked talking about it too.
Yeah. Alrighty, that's going to do it for us this week. As always, you can head over to iTunes to rate, review, and subscribe to the show. If you have opinions or questions on anything Lost related, you can email us at frecklesandblondie@thelostpodcast.com, or you can find us on Instagram at The Lost Podcast. You can also search for us on Patreon and help us reach our first goal by donating $1 a month or whatever you can afford. You could also be super brave and call our voicemail line at 484-416-LOST.
No bravery required.
Yeah, we promise we won't pick up.
Yeah, it's not scary. We don't answer.
True. But yeah, definitely leave your opinions there if you feel so inclined. Don't forget to tune in next week, where we'll be discussing one of my least favorite episodes of Lost, Fire plus Water.
Oh, wow. I'm excited. This has to be about Charlie.
Yep. It's about Charlie. Not looking forward to it, but...
Ooh, I am looking forward to it now. Yay.
Great. Until then, I'm Randy.
I'm Tiffany.
And this has been Freckles and Blondie.
And the longest episode ever.
Jack warns him he's still on antibiotics. Oh my God. There's that word
is
again
a word for you.
that I just can't say. Antibiotics. Right? Wow, now I'm second guessing myself.
Antibiotics? Antibiotics?
Antibiotics?
I don't know.
Antibiotics?
You could say it either way, right?
Gosh. Now it's like every time I see that word, I get scared.
Just say it really fast. That's what I do.